In this video you will learn to inspect and test, operate exterior U.S. Navy standard door Q51. A list of reference materials can be found using the links associated with this course. NSTM Chapter 600, Volume 1. Structural Closures S9086-UF-STM-010 contains detailed steps, illustrations, and procedures for accomplishing inspection and maintenance on watertight doors. It shall be used in conjunction with this MRC. Warning signs can be manufactured locally of engraved red-white plastic to provide information shown in Figure 1 shown on this MRC. Warning: exercise extreme caution when working around an open trunk. Make inspection record sheet using Table 1 as a reference. Rope off and secure area around both sides of door with safety lines and hang warning signs. Verify proper installation operation of safety chains or guard ropes. Inspect for missing shackles, snap hooks, bolts or toggle pins with retaining lanyard, if applicable. Complete this maintenance requirement MR in its entirety prior to reporting discrepancies to Work Center Supervisor. Common features of watertight doors include dogs, hinges, handles. Use inspection record sheet to annotate all inspection results. Open door. Inspect door panel components. Verify no rust or corrosion on panel surface or components. Inspect welded mechanically fastened dog wedges for wear and gouges. Wear or gouges that exceed 1/8 inch in center of wedge, or leading edges that measure less than 1/16 inch, are unsatisfactory. Inspect door frame assembly components. Inspect overall door framework. Check dogs, wedges, handles, hinges for rust, looseness and corrosion. Also check all welds and connections for rust, looseness and corrosion. Handles. Quick acting and individually dogged. Inspect handles for rust corrosion. Rusted corroded handles are unsatisfactory. Step 1C1B applies to quick-acting doors only. Operate handles. Verify internal and external handle move in unison for quick-acting doors only. Omit if not applicable. Failure of door handles to move in unison are unsatisfactory. Inspect handle spring clip assembly for broken or missing spring clip brackets, spring clips, or bolts. Broken or missing spring clip brackets, spring clips, or bolts are unsatisfactory. Engage handles into spring clip and verify spring clip holds handle firmly. Looseness of handle in spring clip is unsatisfactory. Dogging mechanisms. Quick acting and individually dogged. Verify no rust or corrosion on dogs or dogging mechanisms. Inspect dog spindle set screws. Missing set screws, or set screws not flush recessed with surface of spindle sleeve are unsatisfactory. Inspect dog spindle self-locking nuts jam nuts. Missing or loose self-locking nuts jam nuts are unsatisfactory. Push on face of dogs. Binding or no movement of dogs is unsatisfactory. If unsatisfactory. For watertight airtight with no MAC alt installed. Schedule and perform MRCU 4J4EZ. For watertight airtight doors with MAC alt 167-31010-526 installed. Schedule and perform MRCU 5J4FA. For all other configurations, notify Work Center Supervisor upon completion of MRC in accordance with Step 1J. Inspect for worn dog spindle bushings and operating handle spindle bushings. Grasp each spindle and attempt to shake it up and down and side to side. If movement occurs, then bushings or sleeves are worn and considered unsatisfactory. Knife edge. For removal of paint from knife edge surface, utilize cloth, abrasive, 320 grit, SPMIG item 03176. Verify no paint on knife edge contact surface and or no rust or corrosion on knife edge and knife edge contact surface. Inspect knife edge contact surface for roundness. A flat knife edge contact surface is unsatisfactory. Inspect knife edge for nicks and gouges. Nicks or gouges in excess of 1/16 inch are unsatisfactory. Inspect knife edge for straightness as follows. Place a carpenter square parallel to knife edge face. Utilizing feeler gauge, measure gap between rule and knife edge. Gaps in excess of 0.0625, or 1/16 inch, are unsatisfactory. Repeat step for remaining knife edge surface. Verify knife edge height is 1/7/16 inch, plus 1/16 inch, or minus 1/8 inch, as applicable. See Figure 3 on MRC. Knife edge height not within tolerance is unsatisfactory. Linkage for quick-acting doors only. Verify no paint or rust or corrosion on linkage. Inspect conrod lever or linkage for looseness by operating handle up and down to move dogging linkage. If looseness of dogging linkage is obvious. Inspect conrod collars, thrust washers, linkage bushings, and cotter pins. Any missing components are unsatisfactory. Verify linkage studs are firmly in place and properly swaged. Loose studs and or improperly swaged studs are unsatisfactory. Inspect hinges. Step 1D1 applies to legacy doors with MAC ALD 538 not installed, omit if not applicable. See Figure 6 on this MRC. Verify hinge yoke, yoke pin, hinge pin collar, hinge pin washer brass, hinge pin cotter pin, yoke pin washer brass, yoke pin cotter pin, adjustment set screw and hex nut. Any missing or unauthorized components are unsatisfactory. Step 1D2 applies to doors with MAC ALD 538 installed, omit if not applicable. See Figure 7 on this MRC. Verify hinge yoke, hinge pin spacer washers SST, hinge pin cotter pin, hinge pad flanged bushings, hinge yoke bushings, hinge pin thrust washers composite, yoke pin thrust washers composite, yoke pin cotter pin, hinge pin spacer nylon, and yoke pin spacer brass are installed. Any missing or unauthorized components are unsatisfactory. Inspect gasket and gasket channel. If inspection criteria fails in these following steps, schedule MRCU 7, J4FC to replace gasket. Caution: under no circumstances should a wire brush or metal scraper be used to clean rubber gasket. Clean all paint and corrosion from gasket by scraping with hardwood block. 10-3 Verify number paint on gasket. If paint is discovered, put on goggles. Remove paint from gasket using hardwood block. Remove goggles. Inspect visible portion of gasket channel for rust and or corrosion. Inspect gasket for bulging. Inspect gasket for pliability and cracks. Hardened or cracked gasket material are unsatisfactory and gasket requires replacement. For doors with 4 round corners, a single gasket joint should be located at top of door. For doors with 2 round and 2 square corners, gasket should be in 2 pieces with a 45-degree miter joint at both square corners. For doors with 4 square corners, gasket should be in 4 pieces with 45-degree miter joints at all 4 corners. Inspect gasket joint and gap. Gasket joint not at proper location or any joint gaps are unsatisfactory and gasket requires replacement. Utilizing depth gauge, inspect gasket for permanent set groove. Permanent set groove in excess of 1/8 inch is unsatisfactory and gasket requires replacement. If inspection criteria failed in these steps, schedule and perform MRCU 7, J4FC, to replace gasket. If inspection criteria fails, schedule MRCU 6, J4FB, to adjust door. Conduct operational test. This step applies to quick-acting doors only, omit if not applicable. Operate dog handle and inspect conrod linkage for binding, warping of conrod linkage, or rotation of conrod lever studs. Binding, warping of conrod linkage, or rotation of conrod lever or studs are unsatisfactory. Shut door and engage dogs. Inspect dogs for full engagement on wedges. If dogs not fully engaging wedges are unsatisfactory, then door requires adjustment. Undog door and cycle door from open to shut 2 times. Binding of door, failure of dogs or operating handle to clear door frame are unsatisfactory and door requires adjustment. If inspection criteria failed in these steps, Schedule and perform MRCU6J4FB to adjust door. Conduct chalk test. If inspection criteria failed in Step 1 G5, schedule and perform MRCU6J4FB to adjust door. Clean knife edge and gasket with clean cleaning cloth. Apply chalk to knife edge. Shut door and dog. Undog, open door and engage holdback device if applicable. Inspect for continuous chalk impression in approximate center of gasket. Non-continuous or offset chalk impression to either side of gasket or unsatisfactory door requires adjustment. If inspection criteria failed in Step 1 G5, schedule and perform MRCU6J4FB to adjust door. Clean excess chalk from gasket and knife edge using clean cleaning cloth. Once chalk test is complete, remove safety lines and warning signs. Return door to readiness condition, as required. Report inspection record sheet results to Work Center Supervisor for scheduling of corrective action. Discrepancies which cannot be corrected by ship's force will be entered into CSMP and logged into ship's closure log. Once discrepancies have been corrected or entered into CSMP and logged into ship's closure log, Work Center Supervisor may mark this inspection as complete. In this video you learn to inspect and test, operate exterior U.S. Navy Standard Door Q51. Additional reference materials can be found using the links associated with this course.